Hey guys, welcome back. I'm glad to have you here today. I have got the Newbeedrone Stinger B. It is a sub 250 3-inch ripper that is an absolute blast. I've been having so much fun with this thing that I don't even have it anymore. I'll get into that story in a minute and let you know how it is that I ended up with a one-way rip. Stick around to catch the whole story. Before we go any further, I just want to say that this drone was provided to me by Newbeedrone for the purposes of making this video. I wasn't paid, there was no compensation. Newbeedrone's not seen this video. They don't get to approve or disapprove of what I have to say about this drone. It is my opinion, and I am free to say whatever it is that I like or don't like about this drone. So let's dig right in. Again, I want to apologize for the fact that I'm making a video about a drone that I don't have in my hands, but I swear to you that this review has been absolutely cursed. But I'm determined to get a video out about this drone. It's been a minute since I've been uploading, and I'm kind of using this video to force my hand at making more content, because the more content that you make, the easier it is to make the content. So let's get this ball rolling. All right, guys? The Newbeedrone Stinger B. When Newbeedrone reached out to me about this drone, well, the name, Stinger Swarm, Stinger B, I felt like I absolutely had to make a video about the drone. So let's take a look at the drone itself from the Newbeedrone website. I have the photos pulled up here. It is a 3-inch freestyle rig, kind of an elongated body, like your typical 5-inch freestyle. Oddly enough, it comes with a GPS mounted on the front, which I wouldn't typically put that on a freestyle rig. That's more of a long range type setup thing for me personally. If you have been around the channel for a minute, you may remember that I made a video about the Whirligig a while ago. That was their 4-inch frame, and it is based off of that, which you can tell by the bottom of the frame. It has a similar arm design and how everything comes together. Now, this frame has evolved quite a bit, and hence the new name, the Stinger B. There's a lot to like about the frame. We have separate arms. We have a front and a rear set of arms. It comes with the Infinity all-in-one from Newbeedrone. They have this thing in a number of different options with either the DJI O3 Air unit or the Caddx Moonlight video system. Both of those are able to record 4K footage, so you don't need to carry your GoPro along with you. You can also get it with no video system, which is what was sent to me with the connector for the Moonlight. I had my own Moonlight already. We'll get into the Moonlight in a little bit. I do want to talk about that. However, as far as how this thing flies, it absolutely rips. It's a 3-inch that just hauls. It runs the 1404 flow motors from Newbeedrone that are 4,000 kV. The version Newbeedrone sent me is with the ELRS receiver protocol, which is what my daily driver is anyways, and no qualms about the video or the control link. Let's talk about how it flies. General flight dynamics are very much in vein of a freestyle setup. All I changed on this drone personally was the rates. At first, one thing that you'll notice when flying various size drones, the motor to motor distance, the shorter that is, like on a 3-inch or even all the way down to a tiny whoop, the more snappy the drone feels. It just feels really responsive to pitch and roll inputs in particular. The larger the drone gets, the more sluggish it feels on pitch and roll. Now you can compensate for that with your feed forward numbers, and the custom tune that Newbeedrone sent on this drone had it flying great right out of the box. The only thing was it was a little bit touchier than my typical 5-inch setup. Even though it had much lower feed forward numbers than my normal 5-inch, I still brought those down just a smidge extra. I want to say I brought them down by like 5 each on pitch and roll. And that got it dialed into where it felt very much like my 5-inch setups. Now, let me just go ahead and show you guys some of the footage of me flying the drone, and then I'll get into more of my opinions about the drone, some of the things I like, some of the things I don't like, who I think it's for, as well as what happened to my Stinger B. All right, let's go.
Keep me
I have no qualms about how this thing flew. In fact, I already want to get more of the Stinger bees. I've already reached out to Newbeedrone and asked that they please, please, please send me another one because I do want to fly this guy more. But we'll have to wait and see if that comes in. If not, I may just have to pony up and buy one for myself. The performance of it is on par with your 5-inch. I will say with the lighter weight, they never quite flow when you do like the floaty inverted stuff over trees. I can throw this drone, but it doesn't carry momentum quite like a 5-inch does. It's close, but there's just something not quite right. I think that if you ran a heavier battery, which is gonna bump it up over that 250 grams, then it's gonna feel right there dialed in. If you're gonna run this bird sub 250 grams with a smaller battery, expect that it's not gonna float quite as well as you're used to with a 5-inch. But if you bump that battery size up, or if you're running a remote ID module with it in order to comply with commercial requirements, like guys like I have to, it does float quite a bit better, okay? When it comes to the build itself, let's talk about the design, some of the things I like, some of the things that I don't like. I like the elongated body, the freestyle type setup. It makes it perform a lot like your, I think it's technically an H frame. I don't have mine in front of me. Let me see if I got a picture straight on overhead. Yes, it technically would qualify for either an H or maybe even a little bit of a dead cat frame. It flies fine. The flight characteristics are perfectly good on that front. The design has the side camera plates, which I'm just not always the biggest fan of. They have a good implementation of that in the way that the camera plates lock onto the main plate and the top plate. But I find that once you break the... I don't break them often, but it's annoying if I have to do any work on them. And that's one of the reasons that it's not my favorite type of setup to run. It's odd choice of having the GPS on a 3-inch. I don't think that you really necessarily need it, but it's easy enough to remove, and then you've got a free GPS that you can throw on a long-range rig somewhere else. So I'm not really mad at that. Otherwise, the 2-arm design, where you have the front arm section and the back arm section, it works good on a frame of this size. I don't need the sturdiness of having 4 individual arms, and you're a lot less likely to break an arm on something that is sub 250 grams. However, if you do break it, it means that you need 2 types of spares. You can't get away with having just a couple of spare arms that can be replaced anywhere. You need, well, I guess if you have a couple, you can replace any of the arms, but you get my point. If you have 1 set of spare arms and you break an arm, then now you can only replace either the front or the back, or whichever one it wasn't that you replaced. So that's a little bit of an annoyance, but it's kind of me just being nitpicky. Other things to note about the drone in terms of what you get out of the box. The video antenna mount that comes in the rear here, that works really well. You have 1 antenna angled up and 1 straight back for the moonlight, and I didn't have any issues. I had several crashes flying around in my yard and on the nearby golf course, and never had anything get damaged, not even a propeller. I think that comes down to the lightness of the frame and of the entire setup, let's say. And I was beginning to think that the thing was freaking indestructible. But we'll get standing by. I'm getting to more of what happened to my drone. Cliffhanger, I know. The battery strap that it ships with. This is a thing, man. Newbeedrone had some really nice battery straps for micros that they used to always ship, and I always liked them. Back with, I forget whether it's the Whirligig or the Cinema, or I think it's the Cinema. They started doing these TPU 3D printed battery straps, and they work. They work great. I actually still have that same battery strap on my Cinema, but the one on the Stinger Bee, it works, and I flew several packs with that battery strap. The only thing is that it's a little bit tough to get put on. Let me show you. Hang on. I actually still have that. The way that it mounts onto the frame is kind of unique. It goes underneath the frame and the bolts go to it. I cut this one off so you're not going to really see that design, but it won't ever slide forward or back because it goes around the standoffs. And as long as you don't rip it, it's going to work for a really good long time. However, The way that you put the strap on, you have these two pieces here. This piece you are meant to pull and pull it tight. It's got that little bit of a grip. This piece is going to slide through said slot, right? Let's go. Sliding it through the slot. It's a little hard to get through, number one. I feel like I'm going to rip it. There, I finally got it. But more importantly than feeling like I'm going to rip it, it requires you to tighten it down a significant portion further than where it will actually be tightened to when you release. It's hard to kind of explain that. But I had a hard time putting it on in a tight manner and ended up kind of getting it set for a battery type and then flying a bunch of those battery types before I took it off. And then it was a nuisance to try to get back off. It's just a little bit of a finicky system and I wasn't in love with it. It will work, and if it's the only battery strap you've got, keep flying it. I personally have a lot of small battery straps lying around because I've been doing this for a long time. So I just snipped it off and put on a regular battery strap, actually two, one in the back and one in the front because I like running two straps, and had no issue. So that's just me being really, really nitpicky. Now, let's get down to the build quality. When it comes to the quality of the build, the all-in-one board is solid. I had no issues with it. The ELRS receiver, again, no issues there. I did install my own Caddx Moonlight system, and it worked fine at first, but it kept cutting out when I would do hard flips and rolls. I wasn't sure exactly what it was, but I just went ahead and snipped the power leads at their connector for the flight controller and direct soldered them to the battery leads, and the issue went away. I think it just had a bad crimp, which happens in these cables. It could happen to anybody. I do not hold Newbeedrone accountable for that, and I fully expect that yours is going to just work. But if you do run into the issue, it's not that big of a deal to snip and direct solder if you've been building mini quads for any length of time. The other issue, I think this one's a little bit less nitpicky. In order to get the camera into the drone, let me see if I can find a better picture for this right here. So, in order to get the camera into the drone, as you're putting it together, you'll take off the top plate, right? All the screws for the top plate comes off. The camera plates are hard mounted to the top plate. They basically, right here where this bolt goes, I don't know if you can see it or not. I don't know if my screen recording zooms in or I don't know how it handles the zooming, but the top plate comes through the camera plates, right? And so in order to take the camera plates off of the top plate, you have to unscrew them from the side. So if you just take the top plate off, the camera plates and the top plate stay attached and they move together. Not a problem. GPS is mounted to those camera plates. Not necessarily a problem. The Express LRS receiver is on the bottom side of those camera plates. Also not a problem. The problem comes from the fact that the cables that are installed in the build are so short that it's almost impossible to move that system around. You can slide it maybe a centimeter or two forward and kind of twist it. You can't really, without taking the props off, you can't like get it too far left and right. You're very limited in how far you can move the whole top plate camera assembly. And the wires going to the GPS and the receiver are really small, and I was worried the whole time that I worked on it that I was going to break one of those wires or pull them out of a connector. I didn't have that happen. I was able to take everything apart and get the camera in and put it all back together, and it wasn't an issue. It just made working on it a little bit finicky. So Newbeedrone, if you're listening, make those wires just a little bit longer so we can move stuff around a little more when we're working on the drone. Again, these are really nitpicky things. Would that keep me from getting this drone? Absolutely not. At the price point that it comes in at, which right now the ELRS version with the Moonlight is $319. Is that with the Moonlight? Hang on a second, that can't be right. Okay, the bind and flight. So the kit doesn't come with the VTX. For the Moonlight kit, ELRS is $319. Yeah. Basically, if you're getting it with the ELRS receiver and no VTX, it's $319. If you're getting it with the TBS receiver, either the Crossfire or the Tracer, and no video system, it's $329. Now, whether you order the 03 or the Moonlight kit, that's just going to change which of the two like TPU prints for your antenna mount you're going to get. Now, if you get into the ones that are ready to fly, the bind and fly with the Moonlight and ELRS, $4.99. If you go to TBS, ooh, it's $20 more for the receiver with the TBS receiver if you have the Moonlight. If you go to the O3 with ELRS, it is $5.39. The O3 with, and it's getting dark on me, great. The O3 with the TBS Crossfire, $5.49, $10 difference. That was a little odd. But now, let's talk about what happened to my Stinger B and why I lost it. I was flying at this bando. I had a crash. I was trying to Matty flip through the door, hit the wall. It was a concrete wall, and I bent the shaft on one of the flow motors. It's going to happen. If you fly bandos, you're going to break stuff. That is no fault of Newbeedrone. I assumed that it was the same 1404 motor that I had had on my 4-inch, and I had spares off at the house, and I went home and I replaced it with a 1404 3000 kV motor. Newbeedrone used to make the 1404 and 3000 kV. They've changed it to 4000 kV, which runs 4S super sweet, I will say. But when I went back to go film more at the bando with the drone, literally 30 seconds into my first pack, I was like, it's not punching out quite like it used to, because one of the motors is a 3000 kV, so it's downplaying the output of the other 3 motors to compensate. I tried that on a punch out, went through, okay, no big deal. Go to do a power loop, smash right into the roof awning of the bando because it wasn't producing the power that I was expecting it to. And it was in an area where I couldn't really recover it. So I had to walk away from the drone. And when I went back to talk to the construction crews that worked there the next day, nobody had seen it, and the drone is bye-bye forever. So whoever out there got it, I hope you got a nice drone, and I hope you're going to put some good use to it. But I don't have a Stinger B anymore. Now, that all comes down to my fault of not verifying the KV of the motor before I replaced it, and not, taking a test flight somewhere tame like my yard instead of going straight to the bando. These days, I just don't have a ton of time. I got a newborn at home, Jacob. He's a month and a half, born just back in April, and so happy about that. But again, busy guy. So here I am with no drone and making this video. That's not the only way that this video has been cursed. Let me just tell you, I feel like whenever I have drones that I build, they last forever. I can crash and smash and do anything I want with them, and they just keep going. But when companies send me one drone where I don't have a ton of spare parts for it and I've got to make a video about it, it is always a struggle for me. First of all, I crashed it into my roof and scratched the lens on it early on in owning it. Had to get a new lens, replaced the lens, flew it, crashed it at the bando, broke a motor, replaced the motor with the wrong motor, crashed it again, and lost it. Determined to make a video, I recorded this very video in its entirety in my home studio, and the microphone died. So I had no audio for the entire video, and I had to go and re-record it now while traveling and stuck in this hotel for you guys. So I hope you appreciate the effort that I put in to review this drone that I don't have. I do really like the Stinger B, and I will be getting another one, and I want to try flying a lot more with this guy because it's so easy to travel around with. One other thing about flying a 3-inch sub 250 is the batteries are cheap, the motors are cheap to replace, all of your frame parts are cheap to replace. The batteries when traveling, like if you're going through airports and stuff, are so much lighter. I like to travel with like a dozen to 15 batteries, and doing that with a 5-inch 6S 1300 kV motors, that's a lot of weight. Doing that with the Newbeedrone Stinger B sub 250 with some 400 to 600 milliamp hour 4S packs, they're so light I can barely even tell if they're in my bag. So I'm going to be getting another one of these. I may try out some other of the 3-inch freestyle rigs, but stay tuned for that. I've got more content to come. I've got some stuff from Caddx that I need to make a video about. I've got a bunch of stuff that people have sent me that I want to talk about, and if you are one of those companies that sent me something, I do apologize. I'm just spinning back up in the channel, and be patient with me. I hope that you guys like this video and stick around for more content. Do all the YouTube things, like, comment, subscribe, Man, I've been around and doing this for a minute, and I'm not going anywhere, so let's hang out, all right? I'll catch you guys later. Have a good one. Bye.